It was happening. The world as I knew it shattered in less than a heartbeat. I was navigating the congested snarl of Los Angeles traffic when a sudden surreal silence fell. My car, a trusted old sedan that had been humming along the busy street, shuddered violently, its dashboard lights flickering wildly before succumbing to darkness. All around me, the mechanical symphony of the city came to an abrupt, unnerving stop. Engines died, and a cascade of vehicles spiraled into chaos. Streetlights blinked out, abandoning the freeway to an impenetrable darkness punctuated only by the sounds of metal on metal as cars collided in blind confusion. Pandemonium erupted in waves, the air filled with the screeching of tires and the shattering of glass. Horns that once blared impatiently were eerily silent, replaced by the shouts and screams of bewildered motorists. Emergency brakes were slammed, but with traffic lights and electronic systems dead, coordination was impossible. Vehicles crashed into each other with abandon, the impact sending shivers through the concrete under my feet. The sky, a vast expanse above the city's skyline, flickered with an unnatural aurora. Colors not typically seen during the daylight, deep purples and eerie greens danced across the heavens, a silent yet foreboding spectacle of the electromagnetic pulse's reach. Below this otherworldly display, the city descended into total survival and desperation. People abandoned their vehicles, their faces etched with confusion and fear, scrambling for safety amid the wreckage. A city bus, its electronic controls zapped, veered off its path and crashed into a nearby storefront, the sound of twisting metal and breaking glass rising above the din. Amid the terrestrial turmoil, a new horror unfolded above. The unnatural silence was shattered by a new, more terrifying sound, the roar of descending airplanes. Their onboard computers and navigation systems obliterated, the planes began to drop from the sky trailing smoke and fire. One clipped the top of a high-rise, sending debris cascading down onto the streets below. Another plummeted into a crowded park, its impact a cataclysmic explosion that echoed through the city's canyons of steel and glass. Hey everyone! Before we jump into the story of how everything changed in a heartbeat, make sure you subscribe to Human Stories Unveiled. Here we uncover thrilling and eye-opening stories of the past, present, and even potential future events that will leave you at the edge of your seat. Don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss out on any of our incredible tales. Alright, let's dive in and see what happens next. I found myself stepping out of my car, drawn into the immediate struggle for clarity and safety. The ground felt unstable, as if the very earth was reacting to the disconnect from the modern world. Around me, the scene was apocalyptic, a digital doomsday brought to life. Street vendors' carts were overturned, their goods scattered, trampled by the fleeing crowd. A nearby fire hydrant, struck by a swerving pickup truck, erupted, sending a geyser of water shooting upwards, adding to the surreal chaos. In this newly darkened world, the rules of society seemed suspended. A palpable fear took hold, a primal understanding that the world had fundamentally changed in a matter of seconds. The fabric of everyday life, so dependent on the pulse of electronic circuitry, was ruthlessly ripped away, leaving behind a cityscape that felt more like a war zone than an urban center. The immediate aftermath was not just a physical wreckage but a profound disorientation. People disconnected not just from their technology but from each other, each person suddenly isolated by the collapse of the digital web that had connected us all. With every step I took away from the carnage on the freeway, my mind raced to make sense of the catastrophic scenes unfolding before me. Chaos reigned as the desperate and the disoriented roamed the streets, their faces painted with fear and uncertainty. A cacophony of alarms echoed through the city, though they seemed muffled, distant, almost inconsequential against the backdrop of such massive, immediate destruction. Flames erupted from wrecked vehicles and buildings compromised by the crash landings, casting an eerie glow that danced across the panicked faces around me. I pressed forward, my only thought to reach Emily. The route to Santa Monica that once seemed straightforward was now a labyrinth of obstacles. Downed power lines sparked in the wet streets, igniting fires that spread rapidly. Emergency services were overwhelmed, their efforts hampered by the same technological failures that bedeviled everyone else. I saw a group of firefighters attempting to combat a blaze with nothing but handheld extinguishers and a garden hose. Their truck sat useless, its electronic brain dead. The further I traveled, the more the fabric of society appeared to unravel. Looting escalated as people grasped for supplies, breaking into stores and homes alike. The thin veneer of civilization was peeling away, revealing a primal instinct for survival that drove people to fight over cans of food and bottles of water. I witnessed a man, no older than myself, wrestling an elderly woman for a bag of groceries before being tackled by a bystander. It was survival of the fittest, playing out in real time. As night began to fall, the city transformed into a dystopian landscape, shadows moving against the firelight, forms both human and debris intermingling in the smoky haze. I kept moving, needing to ensure Emily's safety, each step forward a defiance of the anarchy around me. It took hours, but I finally reached Emily's apartment complex in Santa Monica. The building was dark, the usual vibrant life that buzzed around it extinguished. My heart pounded as I ascended the stairs, creaking ominously under my weight. When I reached her door and saw it ajar, fear clenched my gut. "Emily!" My voice was hoarse from the smoke and exertion. I found her in the living room, packing a bag by the light of a flickering candle. Relief washed over me, followed quickly by urgency. We had to leave! Suddenly my life came back to normal. My nightmare had been nothing more than a horrible dream. As I sat up from the couch where I had been sleeping next to Emily, my heart still pounding, I realized just how precarious our life is today. The images of chaos and destruction, the unnatural silence, the roar of descending airplanes, they were all just part of a nightmare. But in that moment, I understood with striking clarity that an EMP attack, the very horror that had played out in my sleep, was nearer than we can imagine. The vulnerability I felt was not just a figment of my imagination, it was real, and it was terrifying. We live in a world built on a fragile web of circuits and cables, one dependent on an uninterrupted stream of power and technology. Every element of our lives, our phones, our cars, our lights, our refrigerators, relies on it. Imagine that in a single heartbeat, it all went away. The planes in the sky would fall from their heights, their electronic systems fried beyond repair. Vehicles would turn into immobile masses of metal, leaving millions stranded on highways and roads. Hospitals would go dark, their life-saving machines reduced to powerless shells. Communications would cease, plunging society into a terrifying silence where no one could reach their loved ones, and no one could call for help. The once familiar hum of technology that we take for granted would be replaced by an eerie, unsettling stillness. An EMP attack is not just an abstract concept whispered about in conspiracy circles. It's a threat that has been acknowledged by scientists, military experts, and governments alike. One massive burst in the sky and our society would be thrust into a pre-industrial age. No electricity, no running water, no functioning infrastructure. The world would unravel into chaos within days and weeks, and the thin veneer of civilization would crumble to dust as people faced hunger, thirst, and desperation. The nightmare I had, the chaos, the struggle, the fear, could very well become our reality if we remain unprepared. The lives we lead, full of convenience and connection, could so easily shatter with a sudden flash, plunging us into a brutal fight for survival. So what do? We prepare. We take the warning seriously and ensure that we're not caught unaware. Stockpile food and water, enough to sustain you and your loved ones for weeks, if not months. Learn how to live without modern conveniences, how to start a fire, how to filter water, how to grow food. Keep essential tools and supplies, flashlights, batteries, medical kits, in a safe and accessible place. Consider having a vehicle that doesn't rely on electronic components, something that will still run when all others fail. Most importantly, build a community. In a world stripped of its digital connections, human connections will be our strongest lifeline. Alone, we might not survive, but together, we can endure. Together, we can be resilient in the face of a threat that might one day turn our nightmares into reality. Thank you for joining us on this incredible journey of survival and resilience. The threat of an EMP attack is real, and this story shows just how fragile our modern way of life can be when faced with unexpected events. At Human Stories Unveiled, we believe that through understanding these challenges we can better prepare ourselves for whatever comes next. We'd love to hear your thoughts, not just about this story but about the things that interest you. What kinds of stories would you like us to tell? Leave us a comment below and let's keep the conversation going. If you haven't already, please like this video, subscribe to our channel and share it with others who might need a nudge to think about their own preparedness. Together we can continue to explore the incredible, dramatic, and inspiring human stories that define us. Thanks for watching and stay safe out there.